2.
Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here at the SoCon Media Days. I've got Justin here with me. What's up, Justin?
What's up, Brad? How are you today, brother?
Doing pretty good. We are here for the football SoCon Media Days at the Hotel Harkness here in Greenville, South Carolina. And we have had a busy day. A busy day. There's been lots of media here, lots of football guys, coaches, players. We're here to cover each and every one of them. And Justin's drove in from North Carolina. I drove down from Kentucky. So we're here with Greenville Sports Media and Furman Joust. So you guys check them out as well. We'll have lots of coverage at GreenvilleSportsMedia.com and FurmanJoust.com, so check them out.
Brad, this is technically our first college sports game day, or college sportscast game day, I should say.
It is. This is going to be our inaugural show here, I guess, here at the Harkness Hotel, covering the SoCon Media Days. You know, we got to hear the Commissioner Michael Cross, do his, what I would call, State of the Union, kind of a State of the Union address, and talk about basically the SoCon, the state of college football, talking about just lots of different things.
A lot of different things today, and biggest thing I think I took away from it was, they had a call with the NCAA director, and the biggest thing I took away from it was they were endorsing an actual breakaway for the Power 4 schools. I mean, I thought that was the biggest piece of news that I heard today.
I think a lot of that, Justin, has to do with the settlement that's in the process, that's kind of happening. You know, they've agreed partially, and they still have to go through some channels to get it done. But in that settlement, the FCS schools are having to eat some of that cost in revenue, in the share of it, and they really feel like that they're not part of that.
And Commissioner Cross talked a lot about that today, about how they were going to have to pay out $27 million
over the next 10
years. Which was huge for a conference like Southern Conference.
Right. I mean, when you take these smaller conferences, Justin, and they're having that's $2.7 million a year that they are having to take off of their revenue. This is all for back pay on players, for the NIL, for the current state of NIL, and things like that. That's what this settlement, all the lawsuits that's going on in the NCAA. So that's what this settlement is for. And if you take a smaller conference like SoCon in the FCS, which in the FCS they're one of the bigger ones, but still you take a $2.7 million hit year after year. That's a big deal. And if you are a smaller conference, even smaller in the FCS, I don't know how you recover $27 million hit in 10 years.
But, that's a good point, Brett, because Commissioner Cross talked about it. They're searching for different areas of revenue. They've hired a couple of outside firms, from what we heard today, too, to diagnose kind of where they were currently in their TV agreements. And obviously they're looking for more sponsorships, too. So they're obviously actively looking for ways to recover that cost, but still a big deal, for them.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a different world in college sports, period. And, everybody, and including the FCS and SoCon, is currently actively in search of and finding ways to fund itself, to be quite honest with you. And the SoCon and FCS is no different than any other of the power conference schools and all that. They're trying to survive too, and not just survive. The SoCon over the last, honestly, over the last 70 or plus years, but really over the last 10 years, they've really kind of thrived And that's what they plan on continuing to try to do.
Absolutely.
Even though the landscape has changed.
Absolutely. And he talked about it today with them opening up a new NIL studio for these, student athletes, to give them the opportunity to make money in this new environment. I mean, it's happening across all of sports. I mean, it's basketball, football, baseball, everything with these settlements coming down.
We're here for the football media days, but the commissioner even talked about some stuff going on with volleyball up in Asheville, and there's lots of different things here that the commissioner kind of talked about. Of course, he got into football mainly and talked mainly about football today. Of course, we're here to kind of talk about the 2024 season.
Sure.
And they kind of got into that too. One of the first things that they talked about today was the coaches poll, the media poll, come out and was put out today here at the SoCon Media Days. And interestingly enough, it was pretty close. Votes wise, you had 61, 56, 49. The top three teams,
Very close.
in the media poll for the 2024 season here, and of course number one, Chattanooga.
Yeah, can't talk enough about them.
So UT Chattanooga, the Mocs return. He's second team. He's listed here as the second team quarterback, all conference team, preseason. Chase, they return him. He is a transfer from UCLA, actually. His first year at Chattanooga was last year. I think he started 10 games and threw for 2,800 yards, I believe, last year, if I remember right. And he is a second team preseason quarterback here in the SoCon, and they are listed at number one preseason wise. Furman lands number two. Furman, of course, won the SoCon last year, has been probably one of the better teams in the conference, at least many more than this, but the last 5 years they've been really strong, it seems, in the SoCon conference. They lost a lot.
Yeah.
Were you surprised to see them at the number two spot?
No, not really. Furman, I think, did a great job just from talking to the coaches and talking to the other players, that they thought they did a good job in the transfer portal as well. So, I think they've done a good job replacing that talent from last year's team.
I think they only returned 7 starters. I'm pretty sure that's right. Is they returned 7 starters from last year's team. That is not many, really,
right.
To return. Now, defensively, I think they have some pieces on the defensive side of the ball to be one of the top teams in the conference. You've got Evan DiMaggio, you've got Luke Clark that are returning on that defense, and I think they're going to be special pieces here in the SoCon. And it wouldn't surprise me defensive-wise to see Furman at the top of the defensive charts.
It wouldn't surprise me to see them at the top of the conference at the end of the year. That's just my view on how, talking with these players and coaches, I really think they've got as good a chance as anybody in this conference to win this conference again.
And, of course, if we're going to talk about Furman, there is a QB competition going on with Furman. So Carson Jones is a sophomore. I'm not sure if he's a redshirt sophomore or not, but I know he's a sophomore. He played when Huff was hurt last year. Threw a winning touchdown against Chattanooga. And in that game, that win is actually what propelled them to win the conference, the SoCon conference last year.
Yep.
And he went on and started 2 more games after that. Had a good game. The next game, I think it was VMI. Wofford. Okay, Wofford. I'm sorry. But then the second game after that, it was an up and down game. It wasn't great. He's coming off of a spring in a competition. They have a freshman, and I don't know the freshman's name, but they have a freshman that I'm hearing some good things about. We were talking to some media guys today before the event here, And the media guys were saying that this freshman's pushing Carson Jones. And there's some buzz and maybe some talk that maybe before the season's over with, you could see this freshman on the field, that he is, from what I was told, he's 6'3", 240 pounds, and can move. So, just to talk a little bit about and we just had a conversation with Coach Clay Hendricks, and he was talking about there's 3 guys actually competing for the QB job here, and of course they're going to start fall camp. I would be surprised though if Carson Jones is not the starting quarterback to start the season out in Oxford at the Grove in Oxford at Ole Miss, guys. That's where Furman starts the season this year. So hopefully, if things go right, I will be there to cover. We are planning that. Jay is with Furman Joust, and Greenville Sports Media is going to be there, and I'm hoping to be there with him and help cover that game. But that is where they start. They start at Oxford, Mississippi, against Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, talk about finding out how good your team is right away, right?
Yeah.
Only as...
I mean, I'm not so sure that they'll come out on top of that day, but that's where they start the season,
right.
And it will be a telltale right away for Furman. What pieces are in place for them throughout the rest of the season here in the SoCon.
Yeah. The biggest team that surprised me we're going to get to new next is Western Carolina, and really seeing a lot of their talent was on display today. Obviously Cole, their quarterback, got named preseason offensive player of the year. He was postseason player of the year last year. So talking to their coaches, they're really abuzz about their team. I mean, obviously the preseason, first team, second team is well on display there too. So very interested in that team.
Yeah, Western Carolina, offensively, when you look at their offense, I mean, they have quite a few pieces coming back on the offense, as does Chattanooga. Both do, but Blake Whitmore is a very, very good offensive lineman for Western Carolina. Has a potential to be he's preseason all conference on the first team here. Has the potential to do that, at the end of the season and be first team all conference as well. I even see there's some boards that I have late that he could get drafted.
Oh, wow.
I mean, as an offensive lineman. So, that's pretty big coming from the SoCon conference here.
Absolutely.
And to be listed on some draft boards is pretty big, and I would think that he would be a big piece for Cole Gonzalez.
I agree. I mean, that team, got to speak with their head coach for a little bit, and the number one thing he said their strength was their speed, and he said he thought they were the fastest team in the Southern Conference, at all their positions, and he said he really liked the way their defensive line was coming along too. So I really think that team's going to surprise a lot of teams in the Southern Conference this year.
Yeah, they got a second team defensive running back here. His name is Branson Adams, and they've got another offensive lineman on the second team here in the all conference team as well. Western Carolina, they were picked third. I'm kind of surprised that they were picked behind Furman. Not necessarily because I think Furman can't be ahead of them, but here in the preseason, Furman lost a lot, and Western Carolina is bringing back a lot from last year's team. And a lot of times, early in the season like this, in the media polls, if you bringing back a lot of times that'll help dictate, the media members and the votes and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little surprised to see Furman ahead of Western Carolina here. It's not tremendous because Furman has the pedigree to replace a lot that they've had. So Furman can actually win the conference down the road this year, if they put the pieces together. I mean, they have that kind of talent, that kind of team here in the SoCon. But preseason wise, I'm a little surprised because Western Carolina returns an awful lot on this team from last year. The big thing from them last year, Justin, is that they had a great team. They didn't always finish games great. Western Carolina did last year. They sometimes struggled to finish, and I think they snuck in the final SoCon poll at like 23.
Yeah.
I think last year at the end of the season.
Yep.
But they bring back a lot.
I think that speaks too to the volume of what Coach Hendrick has done in the transfer portal too, though. I mean, you lose a lot of talent and you got to replace it, right? So I mean, if you can go hit the portal hard in today's world, it means a lot for your team. It replaces a lot. Just depends on how quickly they can come together, how quickly they gel.
All right, so we got the top 3 teams down, guys, and we're here to talk about some of the others as well. Kind of briefly here, Justin, what do you think? Who's some sleeper teams that you think that might step up, maybe make a little noise, maybe overtake one of these top 3 teams?
After talking to the guys at Mercer and the guys at VMI, I really like both of those 2 teams as kind of being my sleepers now. We talked about it a little earlier today offline, kind of who was going to be our sleepers. Well, after talking to them, they're really high on their talent there at VMI and at Mercer. And I think both of those teams, well coached, and they got a lot of talent. And I think they could put it together if everything fell together.
Yeah, I mean, Mercer was picked 4th. VMI was actually 7th. I was a little surprised that they were 7th in the conference. Now, they've struggled some the last 2 or 3 years, VMI has, but, Jay was telling me he believes that they've got some pieces together. They've, started had a new coach last year, first season last year, and towards the end of the year, they kind of put some pieces together and was making a little run late in the season last year. So they're a team for sure that I think, in the second year of the head coach, they're a team that could make a little noise. Mercer has a brand new coach.
Mm-hmm.
This is his first year. Mike Jacobs is his name. He's a brand new coach, first season here at Mercer in the SoCon. They're picked 4th in his first season. They were in that 4th or 5th range last year in the conference as well. So they return a little bit. Do you see them taking a step back with a first-year head coach at all, or do you think they can kind of keep going?
I think from speaking with them and just being able to interact with their players, I think they have the talent and the belief. The number one thing I got from them was that they were going to bring the intensity, was the number one word that I heard from those 2 guys. And I really think if you believe it, and they certainly feel like they believe it, they can achieve it.
So to talk just a little bit further, I mean, Warford's got first team running back, Ryan Ingram is his name. They were picked second to last here in the conference. But some of these teams, East Tennessee State, I think, they have some offensive linemen that are first team here. Warford has a first team tight end as well.
Mm-hmm.
So even though some of these teams are a little further down the list on the preseason polls, they have talent. And the good thing here about SoCon, and the commissioner even talked about this, is that in the SoCon conference in the FCS here, everybody plays everybody. There's 9 football teams, and you can't get away from any of them. You have to lace them up and go head to head with each team throughout the season. And in a lot of these big conferences anymore, Justin,
You don't see that.
you don't see that anymore. And here at the SoCon, they still head to head match them up every Saturday. You can't get away from somebody. You don't see Warford not playing Furman. You don't see ETSU not playing Chattanooga.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're going to match up each and every week. And the good thing here is that you actually, on the field, head to head can see who comes out on top.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Spot on. The other thing too that the commissioner mentioned was that all of these teams have been ranked at some point in the last couple of seasons. So the depth of talent in the SoCon is really on display. And that's why I really think there's some teams that are in that 6 to 7 range that can push, the top 1 or 2.
Well, to kind of wrap things up here at the SoCon Media Days, I mean, what do you think here, looking forward to this season, how many teams do you think can get in the, in the playoffs in the FCS here? I mean, we talked about the top 3. Is there a 4th or 5th team you think can sneak in the playoffs here?
I think they're going to get 3. I mean, I think that's the conservative, number, but I think those 3 teams are probably going to separate themselves throughout the course of the season, and they're going to be the ones that'll be pushing for the playoffs.
Usually I think 3 to 4 teams is kind of where it falls most of the time here in the SoCon Conference. I believe they had 3 or 4 last year that they had 4 that made the playoffs last year. It wouldn't surprise me to see a 4th team sneak in here, out of the SoCon Conference. There's 9 teams. If they could get that 4th team in, that's nearly half, 45%, of the conference getting in the playoffs. And that's what's special. I know that the whole country talks about, and we got 12-team playoff now, but the whole country's talking about the new 12-team playoff and everything. But here in the FCS, there's several spots. There's lots of teams that get in, and you have your own little playoff system. And for a conference like SoCon to be able to lock up 4 spots in the playoffs, money-wise and TV-wise and ratings-wise and everything else is a big deal. So,
big deal. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, you got the 3 teams that we talked about. If you're going to pick a possible 4th, I would say that Mercer, possibly could, VMI, ETSU is probably one of the teams that might sneak in there in that 4th spot, maybe there in the FCS playoff.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's going to do it for us here from SoCon Media Day. Obviously, Brad and I will be doing our show going forward each and every Friday for the new season. So, shameless plug for us for that. The new College Gameday, College SportsCast Gameday will be live on Friday nights. So, we look forward to seeing all of you guys, or you will get to see us make our 12-team picks each and every week for that particular week, and we're also going to talk about some really good matchups for that week as well. So
and
we got
some great, lining up some great guests. We're going to do some stuff and have different conference teams and stuff in. So we got somebody that might come in from the Big 12. Of course, we got ACC guys here with Jay and some Clemson people, and we got NC State right here. Justin is. So we've got that. I'm the SEC country. We've got here, Greenville Sports Media. We got guys even in like Coastal Carolina, and so we can cover it all. And we're looking forward to bringing that to you on Friday nights. That's going to start August 30th. Absolutely. So check us out, College SportsCast Game Day here at Greenville Sports Media, and we will check us out on August 30th, guys. So long from the SoCon.
So long from SoCon, guys.